Right, I'm going to play another game of Rapid, so I'll play it in this arena. So I'll just play a random opponent, could be any rating. What am I on? 1541, good luck. 1978 mine. I only get 4 points for a win here, 24 I'll lose for a draw, and I'll lose 53 for a loss. I'm just going to play it reasonably quick in the opening, then I'll have to slow down at some point. I play very little Rapid, of course. I don't play it regularly, so I might well play too quick at some point, blunder and be asking for trouble, but not to worry. If it happens, it happens. Just going to hit the bishop there. Again, I guess I'll just castle. Might as well pre-move if he takes. It's a safe pre-move. C6, just common sense. I'll maybe castle first. Just castle, rook across. Simple development moves, nothing fancy. So let's get castled. He hasn't hung anything. It's just a normal opening here. The rook across. Maybe flip the knight to where the rook is. Just got to be careful I don't blunder the pawn, which is why you normally play an early c6, so I can now come in front of the queen. Maybe I could develop the bishop with the pin there, but if I come back, he might win a pawn or he might mess my structure up, so I'm going to stick to the plan and just flip the knight across. I say simple development moves. Not easy to create any chances, just longer term pressure is what we're aiming for, and see if he goes really bold by chucking his pawns up the board. He might do. But if I trade this bishop for a knight, then we've got opposite coloured bishops. I don't really want to do that. Trade the dark's bishop for a knight would be more common sense, I think. Let's see how he plays this. Okay, you might have seen something, so it's coming up with some idea. So let's see what it is. I'll try and clear my mind and just refresh myself on the position after he's moved. He's now moved. I don't think the knight in is that dangerous. He might be looking at lining up in a sack, so I'm going to take the chance to get the knight out, I think. And if queen down, I can develop with tempo on the queen so he doesn't have an immediate knight move. Then when the knight's back, it helps to guard h7, and it can also maybe jump forward at the right moment. See, queen up would potentially blunder a pawn. Only if he put the queen here, though. But yeah, I'm bound to go wrong in some Rapid games, even against much lower rated players, because you see, I tend to not play Rapid very often at all, so I'm not accustomed to playing this time control, so I'm just playing too quickly in the wrong parts sometimes. Okay, he's got a good internet connection, so he's just thinking here, I think. I say knight back is my intended next move, depending on what my opponent does. So he's played forward to hit the bishop. That's a logical move. I can still drop the knight back. Knight takes, queen takes, and I've swapped the dark squared bishop for knight, which I said I don't mind doing. It's whether I want to put the knight there, but I don't think I actually do. I think I still want the knight back. Now I've covered this square so he doesn't have queen down. I'll pre-move in case he takes. So we're not going to have opposite coloured bishops, so... Okay, so he doesn't have queen down because of my bishop. He has queen here. We can maybe trade and mess the pawn structure up, but I'm well up on the clock here, so I need to use time as well as position. So maybe queen up and bishop up might be a move. Try and provoke f3 if he doesn't put the queen there. Then I've got a choice. Do I drop the queen back if he comes forward? But then he might get initiative and momentum. Not easy. Maybe just bishop up and trade off a set of bishops, but I don't want the game to get too easy to play, because then the fact that I'm up on the clock won't really make any difference. He's got bags of time right now. Yeah, so he's played rook across, so bishop up, trade kind of makes sense, but I think I want to just go here. And if knight out wide, I've got b6 as an option. We stop the knight coming in and I guard the pawn, so I'm just going to go here while I try and work out whether to put the rook here or whether to double up here and here, or indeed whether to try and activate the knight instead of leaving it defensive. I need to do something about my pawns at some point. Now, if I put the king here, there's then no discovered check. If he pushes a pawn, I can grab a pawn. Although he might be able to still take here. But I'm going to put the king on a dark square so there's no check. Okay, now he's pushed f3, so he's kind of going all in here. So I'm going to put the rook on d8 rather than c8. And maybe drop back to guard the pawn. Maybe it actually is worth trading the bishop. Get rid of this annoying diagonal. I'm going to get rid of that bishop, I think, unless he drops it back. Maybe just double the rooks up and try and pressure his backward pawn. Might not get a chance to, but worth it. Worth a try, I think. So he's come forward. Any reason why I can't take that? I think I should take that. It's whether he takes with the knight or the bishop or the pawn. I might take if he takes with the knight or the bishop, just to mix things up a bit. And there is a loose pawn here now. Depending on how he takes, I've got queen takes pawn, which I think I should do first. Now, I take with check, I hit the bishop. My bishop hangs as well, so it's not a clean winning piece, but I don't want to take here. So gain a bishop, lose a queen, gain a queen, lose a bishop, gain a rook, lose a rook, and it's completely simplified. It's whether I can win his pawn, or I could just simply drop the bishop back, which I think I should do. I don't know if it's good or bad, but should I simplify it is a question. Gain a bishop, lose a queen, gain a queen, lose a bishop. Then I can either trade a set of rooks, but I think that gives him momentum. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to drop the bishop back. So I'm threatening to take the bishop. If he moves, I can trade queens. So, but then there's still pressure on the pawn. I can activate the knight. I just don't want to simplify it a lot and then give him the second rank, or the 7th rank as it might be, and find that my extra pawn just fades away. I'd like to trade the bishops. I don't think I'll get a chance to. So I think I can play here and hit a pawn, because I'm discovering on the queen and I'm hitting a pawn. If I win a second pawn, then obviously I'll trade off anything that I can trade off, and it should be cleanly winning. But obviously right now if I take, he might have rook across and in, so there's still risks with it. But I might be able to take it and threaten the knight, or if rook goes off, hit the bishop if he goes here, for instance. So let's see how he plays this. He's got really 2 squares for the queen. He might block it, but I don't think he could. So he's gone to f3. So I think I should take, give him a chance to blunder. Rook across blunders the bishop. He should not do that. He should not do that at all, but you give him a chance to blunder just in case. And I've got a second pawn now. So now if I can get the queens off, I want the queens off all day long. That takes away a lot of the risk. Even if I blunder a couple of pawns back, I'm still not any worse off. And we're getting to the point now I need to kind of slow down my pace a little bit, try and force a blunder somewhere. Now rook up is a move threatening the bishop. Now where does he go? It might allow me to double my rooks up. Knight up looks very strong, threatening to fork the pieces. In fact, knight up, I can't really see a better move than that. I can go here, hit the queen, I can go here, hit the queen. So I'm going to activate the knight with double threats here. If I get here, I hit the queen and the bishop. He can still guard it. I'm not necessarily winning material, but so very happy to simplify now. If he goes here, this knight falls. So he's gone there. So I've still got knight across as a potential move. My pawn is loose. I think I should push my pawn. But do I go like this? I think if I push this pawn, it takes away this risk. I'm still hitting the bishop. And if I can play this as well at some point, obviously I don't want to let his knight in, but at some point create a nice chain. So he's dropped the bishop back, so he's unwinding the position now, so I need to be a bit careful. I've still got rook down to hit the pawn. Rook down's a move, but I think queen in I prefer to try and get the queen off. So I'm going to try and get the queen off the board now. 2 pawns up, I'm up on the clock, so it makes sense to take the biggest risk out, and my opponent's queen is the biggest threat, so take the biggest threat out if I can. If doesn't trade, you've got to still really... yeah, he doesn't want to trade, but now I can maybe go here. And I get the queen on a better position with the rook to come in here, so I'm going to... Oh, actually, do I go here? Which squares make sense? I think I go here because it can't be hit by the rook. So I go here. I can still take with a knight, but if the queen goes back, I've got rook here, and there's a big threat. And I can maybe even just double the rooks up, and I'm just developing, so... We look to trade the queen. Yeah, queen's gone back, so now I should be able to get a rook off. Rook here, takes. You have to take with a knight to guard your rook. Or I could just even double up. So is there anything better? I don't see it. Rook here, this rook is loose. I think I should still play it and maybe rook across. If I take, you have to take with a knight. Maybe I've then got bishop up. Oh, he's gone back. So now he's got to guard this. So now the knight can potentially come in. If I bring the knight in, what do you play? You don't want to push the pawn. You might have to. I think that's worth wasting a move on. Knight in, I think is worth wasting a move on. Because now 3 attack it, only 2 defend it. Rook up is no longer a move. I can still double my rooks up. My pawn and bishop guard each other. So you might have to play a move like knight back. He has to play knight back, which he's done. Now, can I grab a pawn and create a threat again? So if I grab the pawn, knight can take knight. And I don't like the look of that. So if I take, he takes. And if I take, his rook hangs, right? So I think it's a free piece. I think he's blundered. If he takes, I just take, and I hit both rooks. So he can't take back. So I think it's winning. I won't pre-move here, but I think it's a safe pre-move. Knight takes rook. Because he might have to move 2 pieces and not guard his rook. And I've still got 3 pieces attacking the pawn and only 2 defending it. It's a very difficult position for white now. Right, so we take, and we hit the rook if he takes, and we're threatening check as well, so we just check and take the queen there. So now I guess I just take the pawn, and hold on, there's no check here, so just grab the pawn. There's no back rank issue, the king's got a square. So yeah, just a clean win now. He's put a decent effort in, just been slightly outplayed, so... I could even play queen across and trade. He just resigned, so that's a good win. I'm only playing the 1 game, so that's a good win.